Welcome to Heroes and Droids, your guide to movies and TV shows about superheroes, sci-fi, Disney, and action. From Marvel to DC, from Star Wars to Star Trek, from James Bond to the Fast and Furious, we review theatrical films and streaming delights you care about most. And tonight, we are reviewing The Batman. Finally, The Batman is in theaters and has done extraordinary box office. Yeah, it's amazing. So we are. I'm speaking for the group. I guess we're thrilled to be here to do this. So let's find out what everybody thinks. So I am your host, Doc Rodden, and joining me tonight are the group crew. Starting off with the one and only Chris Slattery. He's the SLATTMAN. How you doing, sir?
I'm good.
Wow.
The anticipation.
I was getting ready to hold a mirror under your nose.
Still breathing. Wow, he's really committed. He's going for it. Look at him go.
I thought he had a stroke for a second there.
How
are you doing, Doc?
I'm doing good. Joining us also, podcasting rockstar and international cosplay queen, Vanessa. How you doing, Vanessa? Good. Vengeance.
I am vengeance. Yes.
Hear you roar. What?
Hear me bat sound.
Oh, no. All right. Also joining us is award-winning filmmaker, Christopher G. Moore. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing. Riddle me this, Batman.
Riddle me
that little Jim Carrey in that?
I know, a little bit, I guess. Well, which I hate his version of it, so maybe I should have done that. But yeah.
But yeah. Let's welcome comic artist and co-host of every Decades of Horror that we do, the one and only Chad Hunt. How you doing, sir?
I'm incredibly, singularly excited to talk about this movie.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear, sir.
Those are the biggest words I've used today. So.
Yes, and that will be the biggest he uses for the rest of the show as well. So write this down. All right, so let's get into this. Oh my God. So what we're going to do is we're going to give our first impression of the film, and that will be spoiler free. So if you haven't seen the film yet, you can watch the first and not be worried about it. Then we're going to dive into discussion. We will get into spoilers. We'll get into Easter eggs. We'll get into a cameo. We'll get into all kinds of things, and then we'll wrap things up with our final thoughts. Our score 1 to 5. And our favorite scene, and that will be exciting. Of course, we hope you enjoyed not only this review, but many others we have on the site. Check them out. We cover a lot of the Disney Plus shows. We also did Peacemaker, and we do the movies such as The Batman, and we're looking forward to a whole year of those between DC, Marvel, and other properties similar to that. So we'll have a good time. So join us for all that. Let's dive into it by first looking at the card. The Batman from Warner Brothers 2022. Available in theaters beginning March 4th, 2022. It's worth noting, only in theaters. Directed by Matt Reeves. Written by Matt Reeves and Peter Craig. Batman is created by Bill Finger and Bob Kane. Cast includes Robert Pattinson, Zoe Kravitz, Jeffrey Wright, Colin Farrell, Paul Dano, John Turturro, Andy, spelled incorrectly, but Andy Serkis and Peter Skarsgård. The synopsis: when the Riddler, a sadistic serial killer, begins murdering key political figures in Gotham, don't mention that, Batman is forced to investigate the city's hidden corruption and question his family involvement. Yes, that is pretty much the film. And then you've got 3 more hours of expansion on it. So, Quite the event. So let's find out what our first impressions are, and we're going to start off with the one and only Chad Hunt, sir.
Oh,
what did?
Oh my gosh, I'm not prepared.
Does that help?
Yeah, now I feel smarter. Okay. My first impression is I kind of stayed away from any of the negative or any of the press about this movie. Because I really, really wanted to give it a chance based on Matt. I love everything Matt Reeves has done up to this point. And so I went into this with a clean slate and enjoyed it immensely. It's just such a callback to some of the old DC comics, Batman comics of the 70s, where he's actually a detective and he shows detective skills and that kind of thing. Which I was glad to see that. There's some good throwbacks to other Batman comics. Some very key Batman stuff throughout, like year one from Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli and stuff like that. So it just reminded, Long Halloween. It reminded me a lot of when Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams and those guys started calling Batman the Batman, as more like to make him more of a scarier object in criminals' eyes, I guess. Oh, it's the Batman, instead of just, hey, Batman, that kind of thing. So it made him a little darker when they added the D to the first of his name. So I was glad to see that too. And I loved the sets. The Gotham City it really looked like Gotham City this time. I mean, we've had some good stuff in other movies, but in this one, Gotham City just felt like you can feel it like pressing down on its citizens and oppressing them in a way. It was sort of thick, like in the air. Something about the whole thing was just awesome, I thought. Pattinson, I thought, was very, very good in this role. I thought he did a great job. I didn't really think there was a bad performance with any of them. So I just thought it was a great movie, and the 3 hours went by like that. And I love movies like that where you can feel so immersed in it, and that's what Matt Reeves accomplished with this. I think he made you feel like you were there, looking through windows and these weird, angles and everything, like you're looking down on something you shouldn't be looking at and stuff like that. So I just enjoyed it terribly. So I loved it. I really did.
Sounds strong. Vanessa, Vengeance, you're up next. What was your first impression of the Batman?
Well, ever since I saw Robert Pattinson in The Lighthouse, I kind of thought he can do anything from that point on. So I was more interested to see what kind of Batman he was going to be and what he was going to bring to the screen. And I was absolutely not disappointed at all by Kravitz. Gave an amazing performance as Catwoman too. And it was just such it really felt like, we've seen dark versions of Batman before, but this one kind of felt like it was breathing new life into it in a certain way. It felt more youthful. As film noir as it is, as dark as it is, it still had that kind of youthful approach to it, especially with it being a younger Batman. I really like, seeing more of that formation of the Batman that we know, right? That the guy that we see later on as Ben Affleck, our older grizzled Batman. I really like seeing, how a character like that develops. And oh my God, Colin Farrell. I'm sure we'll talk about it much more later on, but there was so many times where I was just trying so hard to see him and I could not. I couldn't hear him. I couldn't see him. That makeup and that performance is incredible. And just everything felt so much more like in the Nolan films, they do have a sense of realism. These cities feel real, the places that you're in feel real. But something about this one, like you were saying, Chad, just feels heavy and oppressive and dark, but yet real in a certain way. It doesn't feel like that animated series Gotham brought to life in the way that you feel like you can put yourself there. It doesn't feel like something that's unattainable. You feel like you could turn a corner and be somewhere like this, and that's a scary kind of place to be. Maybe I want to be in Bloodhaven, not in Gotham.
Yes, Bloodhaven.
But overall, I mean, I still have lots of a feeling. I'm still processing, I think, how I feel about it. I want to see it again.
Yes, definitely. All right. Slatman, sir. What is your first impression of the Batman?
I really liked it. I thought it was very successful as a Batman movie. I thought it was a very successful movie just in general. It's very well shot. The sound design is spectacular. Um, the and then the performances are amazing. I know it was said earlier, but I don't think that there's a bad performance, and the worst performances are still excellent, and the best performances are out of this world awesome. Every one of our main characters has good chemistry between them, whether it's in a positive way or in a negative way, for characters interactions, and it's believable, which is um which is something that I feel like some other Batman movies don't really feel that way. I
Mhm.
like I don't know a good way to describe it, but it's just like some like this one feels just believable. Like, he doesn't feel like he's they do a very good job of humanizing Batman, like as like a physical human being, not like emotionally or anything like that. But I mean, like, you can tell that, he's still a dude in a suit that knows who's trained well, but he's a dude in a suit that's trained well, that when he gets punched, it still hurts, So it's just, it bravo for that, you know. However, but
Oh, comma butt. No comma butts.
I'm gonna have to put on my nitpicking hat for a moment. I do think that the movie was a little too dark at times. And I don't mean dark in tone. I mean literally dark. Like hard to see dark. And I don't know if it was the theater I was in or if it really was shot that way, but there were some times where like I could tell the vision was there, but things were artifacting and blurring together. Like literal like objects that should not like mesh together were appearing as one blob as opposed to two separate objects. So and I thought some of the dialogue, while acted well, was not equalized very well, and it was kind of hard to hear at times. But both of those things could be attributed to less of the movie and more of the theater I saw it in, but I still have to take that into consideration. So
Yeah, I'll have the theater I saw it in context too. But let's find out first what Christopher G. Moore thought. What was your first impression of the Batman? And I think you just saw this hours ago.
Yeah, I just saw it hours before we were recording. I absolutely adore this film. This film puts the goth in Gotham. The cinematography has ocular opulence of the dark and ominous variety. And I think going into this, like most people, like we've seen previous films, like, oh God, Michael Keaton is Batman. Oh God, Christian Bale is Batman. Oh God, the guy from Twilight's Batman. Holy shit, Robert Pattinson pulls this off to where now he's one of my new favorite Batmans. And I think the cast is amazing. Everybody, Selena Kyle, the connection that she has with Batman, their picture should be under the definition of chemistry, because they have chemistry. I felt it off the screen. I was like, oh my God, I'm sweating just watching them just be near each other. And it's like, they don't even get that many scenes where most films would have to build that chemistry. You just feel it. I mean, and it felt romantic. I never knew two people in like, these crazy costumes, and they're like coming at each other, and you're like, oh shit, man.
Yeah, almost instantly, right?
It's instant chemistry. And I don't know. Well, there's rumors they had sex on the Batmobile, so I don't know if that's true, but now I believe it after seeing this film, because I feel like these people got it on offset. But yeah, the action scenes, the production design. I mean, every set, the inside of some of these buildings, whether it's Bruce's manor or even his version of the Batcave, which is just a decimated building that never got finished, which ties into the plot, So there's reasons behind all of this, and as much as we always like the cool vehicles, I think the Batmobile is pretty freaking cool, It's almost like it's almost made to look scary to people, you know what I mean? So it's not meant to be like, and later we do get to see sort of a bird version of the Batmobile, a Bat cycle.
That's right, we do.
Yeah, and because you got little bat things on it. But yeah, you get to see him use different gadgets and stuff, and which is kind of cool. And there's a lot of cinematography that's done from the point of view, either a lot of times the character's emotion. Like you're going along with Batman when he's jetting up, or you're going along with the Penguin when he's like, well, I guess he's not called the Penguin yet, but going along with Oswald or whatever when he's in the car, you're going along with them, and you feel like you're part of it, and just the shot selection, how they shoot through certain like windows and stuff to sort of show that this isn't some pretty place. You're always having to look through the grime to get to the good stuff. And so there's so many things that work so well in this that I didn't think would work. And, and I'm a huge fan of the Riddler. Riddler's my favorite Batman villain. And I don't think anybody's really done him well enough for me, except for maybe the animated series. But I think this version kind of works, and I mean, I am a fan of like Seven and those type of films. There definitely feels to be a David Fincher vibe with a lot of the shots in this. I saw it at the Alamo Drafthouse, and I had no problems with darkness. I mean, there's parts of it that are meant to have a element of darkness because of people coming out of darkness, but I didn't see that. I saw everything to where a lot of the film, I was just like a little kid looking at all the different candies on the wall. It's like, ooh, look at that. Because there's even like there's an office in Wayne's Manor where there's like little things that almost like little bats. I mean, there's things like that, the attention to detail, or even like the club, or what Falcone's his office and stuff, or these huge. I mean, the production design is so amazing, and how they light it looks really good to where it feels different from any other of the Batman things we've had. Because you had the Burton, which is more crazy stylistic, and then you have the grounded Nolan ones, and then you have, I don't even know what to call some of the stuff, the Snyder stuff, but I won't even get into that. But I don't know, this everything came together, and it even like it even had elements of humor that made me laugh. And Colin Farrell, holy shit! We've seen stuff. I'm sorry, I'm still talking, but we've seen stuff. I realize this is like a year-long impression. We've seen stuff with like practical effects. We've seen stuff where they use CGI, like we've had Luke Skywalker come back. But this is the first time I've seen a character and I've watched him, and I can't see the seams. I can't see where he starts and that ends, and he embodies. And I think if you hadn't known that, I know when I first saw the trailer for it, I did not know that it was Colin Farrell. And you can see he's having fun with that character. He's become this new character. So I don't know. There's so many great things about this thing that I could talk until the bat signal comes up in the sky by the end of the night. So I just love, this is one of my new favorite Batman films. Yeah, I'm just I love it.
Straight up.
Love it.
Yeah. It is quite an amazing film. I have a strange experience because I saw it in 4DX thinking that was a smart move. Boy, I do not recommend seeing 3 hours of the Batman in 4DX being shook around and spit on with rainy drops and smoke and punches by your ear all night long. It was rough. But through it all, I did manage to see quite an impressive film. This is impressive. Yeah, I am a huge fan of Matt Reeves, of his past work, and he is true to his vision and true to, he never wavers, right? From the beginning to end, there, what kind of film this is. And it is very much, more so than any other, I would say, a Batman film. This is about the Batman. It has Bruce Wayne in it, but it's not about Bruce Wayne. It is about the Batman. And it is, and maybe you said this, or maybe you'll agree with me, Chad, that to me, this is the first time they did Detective Comics. This was more like Detective Comics to me. Where it's the Batman getting down and dirty. Often it wouldn't even be, one of the more colorful villains, right? In Detective Batman, the Batman comic would always have your outrageous, whatever, right? But this one would get a little bit more gritty and down into, the underbelly of Gotham, if you will. And this is where it goes. And there's aspects of this that I am so impressed they did with the costuming. The actual Batman. Well, first, Catwoman is fantastic with her simplicity of what she's doing, because basically she just has like a pullover hat that she cut the eyeballs out enough, and for the burglar Catwoman before she becomes what she will become when she gets to Bloodhaven it's perfect, and it even has the subtle little cat ears in the stitching. So I absolutely love that. But the Batman costume is, you feel like he and Alfred made this. They made this costume. They did not find, somebody to, go all out with all this newfangled, technology. They stitched this thing together. You can see it on the nose, right? You can see, how it's made. Now they do have some gadgets, and that's fine. And they feel real, and they feel like they would work. It feels very, it never reaches that. It never pushes that fantasy element too far that you're going, only in a Batman movie could that happen, right? To the first motorcycle that he uses, to the Batmobile, but even like one subtle nick in the eye of the bat, is one of the bat eyes, right? Is like shows that where he got punched really hard or got stuck or something, and and actually there's a little nick in the eye. I was like, that's amazing. I don't know why that impressed me so, but it did. And of course, you mentioned the Batmobile. This is by far my favorite Batmobile of all of them. It just feels so. It's basically a muscle car.
Yeah.
Really. Charger
with a lot of junk in its trunk to go down there. But it is so. It is so threatening, and so we could probably do like a whole podcast for hours on the Batmobiles alone. But I so much love this, and so the film itself impressed the hell out of me. The 4DX shook me and about threw me out into the floor of the thing. I don't go see it in 4DX. Don't go see it. It's 3 hours. It's painful. So I need to see it again. There are a few things that I wasn't entirely happy with, I will admit. I don't know if I liked Alfred, and I like Andy Serkis as Alfred, but I didn't really like what happened with Alfred in this. So it's fine, but I don't know. It felt a little bit like you got the shaft, and I would say, as much as I love Jeffrey Wright as Gordon, James Gordon, I didn't get enough of him, right? I didn't get enough of what is behind him. So those are kind of the few things I dislike, but Robert Pattinson has definitely become a Batman. He's definitely Batman. I'm not sure about his Bruce Wayne yet, but he didn't get a lot of Bruce Wayne. But I'm not sure about his Bruce Wayne, but he's definitely the Batman. Because even when he's Bruce Wayne in this movie, he's really just the Batman without the cowl.
Mhm.
Well,
He's
but
never
this-
he never really takes a Bruce Wayne persona on.
well, but I think this is where he's developing that Bruce Wayne.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think
this
so,
this
too.
is this is
Right, right.
earlier in his career where he's
Well,
He's-
there isn't a difference between the Batman and Bruce Wayne yet, but we don't get anything on his Bruce Wayne side. He's not actually doing anything on his, and I think that might be your point. He's actually ignoring, his responsibilities or his legacy as a Wayne, and he's concentrating on being the Batman. But I like that. I like what Patterson makes an impressive Batman. I will say that. I'm still kind of a Batfleck kind of guy, but that's my problem. But like you said, the chemistry between Robert Pattinson and Zoe Kravitz is absolutely amazing, and Colin Farrell is it's insane. It's incredible what he does, and then John Turturro as Carmine Falcone in this is so not John Turturro in anything else I've ever seen him in. He's so slimy in this movie. It's great. I am so happy this film exists. And Paul Dano, we haven't really said much about him, but the Riddler he gives us is scary. It's a scary Riddler. Chad, did you see a little Hush in his Riddler?
I did with the mask, and everything. Yeah,
it felt like
they even mentioned they even write Hush.
They do. They do
over the thing at one point.
Yeah. So I felt a little bit of that character in there, as well as what some of the other things we've been mentioning, the other plot lines. Really, it is. I think it might very well be the best The Batman movie. With as far as Batman the character.
Mm-hmm.
I think. I mean, really, it's between this and The Dark Knight, really, and The Dark Knight might edge out only because of Heath Ledger, maybe, right? Maybe.
I don't. I still like Dark Knight. That's my favorite Batman movie. But this one is. It's just eking that out a little bit.
He's talking to heels, right? He's talking to heels at the very least. I think I like this Batman better than that, but that Joker though is just that whole thing. Anyway, we're not talking about that. We're talking about this.
Yeah.
So let's. What do we want to jump into? The chemistry between Pattinson and Kravitz. What do you want to go? Vanessa, why don't you jump in here and give us some feedback about some other thoughts you had?
Well, if we're jumping into spoilers now, right?
We are jumping into spoilers. Yes, ma'am.
So this is maybe not quite as exciting, but I really, really liked how there was kind of this, mind fuckery that was going around with Batman or Bruce Wayne, especially where Falcone was involved as to who and what, who killed his parents, how that happened, who was involved. There's a lot of back and forth that plays into that there was so much in this Batman movie that I've never seen or really known about Batman's history. I really wasn't, aside from the animated series, I really didn't view Batman as a detective or in the light of a detective or outside of the animated series as so much of a film noir kind of character. And this kind of opened my eyes to really what feels like the original, the early Batman that we got, and it's kind of like getting to see that through like a new lens, and then seeing how this detective story kind of plays out. Because to me, it really felt kind of like a serial killer movie, right? And he's just following, the clues of this serial killer who's just kind of like, dragging him along the whole time. But on the opposite side of that, you have Falcone, who's also kind of pulling all these strings. I mean, John Turturro is like, you can't fuck with the Jesus, right?
Nice.
He carried that the whole time. He was perfect in that role. But how much he was able to manipulate people and play on emotions and carry this fear. And in himself too, the way he brought that to the screen, because you really wouldn't look at him and think that until he puts that presence on, that persona on, and that was like one of the things. Obviously, I loved all the fighting and all the the bigger, more grandiose moments, the big Batman moments. But the story that was being told this whole time, this detective story, really kind of, I think that's what made me like it the most. It was a real movie with Batman in it, I really liked that.
Yeah, and a Batman that stuck around for the shot, right? He wasn't like in the shot, smack, 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 and out the window he goes. He actually stood there and interacted and became, his presence was felt. Like when he walks into that first crime scene, and he's just walking around and he's standing there just looking at all the evidence, right? He's not really dialoguing, but yet his presence is so heavy, and we get to see him just be Batman amongst all the in this scene for a very long scene, and we, I don't know if we've gotten quite that before. Not with Batman, we've gotten that with Bruce Wayne, right? Because they usually give that to Bruce Wayne, but here they gave it to the end before we even see him as Bruce Wayne, if I recall. Certainly in the film for this.
Well, there's a line in there where I think the Riddler tells him, or somebody tells him, you're the Bruce Wayne is the mask. You're Batman is who you are. We've heard that a lot in comics.
Yeah, Riddler says
never,
that. Yeah,
we never really heard that in a movie yet, really, as far as I know, not in this way. But in the comics, it's brought up a lot, and I thought that was a cool thing. I love the fact that he's a detective in this one, because it's such it's like Vanessa was saying earlier, not a lot of people know Batman as the world's greatest detective, but throughout the 70s, that was really, he started in Detective Comics. And I really, really love that they brought that out in this story, and made the movie about Batman, not so much Bruce Wayne, but because he's in the costume 90% of the time, he's hardly ever Bruce Wayne. And the fact that they're showing it in such an early part of his career, you can see that he's really broken. The scene where he's looking at the little boy after the mayor was killed, and the mayor's son, without saying anything or even no exposition at all, just him looking at that little boy, and you could tell that he knows what that little boy has gone through. And I thought that was just a genius part of the story, that everybody knows Batman, everybody knows his backstory, but you don't really know how he feels about things. And this really, really brought that out, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah, it was really interesting in that moment. They kind of told Batman's origin, but not through him. Because they did. That's one thing this film doesn't. It references it obviously because his father's death, his parents' death is a big catalyst for everything. But we don't get the whole
pearls
scene.
dropping.
Right. We don't get it, which we got. How many times have we seen that? And we don't get it. And I really appreciate that. Right. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And like you talked about the eyes. The whole film, he acts through his eyes for the majority part of it, and it's an amazing performance.
It is.
And I think, I think also just how talked about the detective part of it. Most of the films they just relegate to him in the Batcave looking stuff up on a computer,
right?
About every movie they've done that, and that even the old Batman TV series. Let's look at the back computer, Robin. They would. So I think seeing him investigating, almost like being the Brad Pitt to Morgan Freeman, with their investigations, is really cool. And there's like one point I think I found to be funny is when the guy's like, when he like picks up that book and he's like, "Hey, what about the chain of custody or whatever?" And he's like, "He's wearing gloves,"
the evidence.
But I love how that we get that sort of element that we don't normally see. And I think with him still trying to figure out himself, he's definitely all about vengeance. And he's definitely emo Batman, because and this one, I'm glad that his eye makeup doesn't disappear when he pulls his mask
Oh,
off.
I know,
'Cause
I
that
know.
was it Batman Batman Returns and Michael Keaton pulls it off, and I was like, where did the eye makeup go?
Mhm.
And because he's like sweating, it goes down. He's like perfect emo kid. But I love that. I love that aspect because he's trying to figure himself, and we get that character arc by the end. He realizes that he can fight crime as his alter ego, Bruce Wayne, just as well as he can, because a lot of this stuff, the reason that all this stuff, the crime has happened because he didn't deal with what was happening with the renewal types, the renewal funds, and
Yeah, he can be
that's
a
partly
light
his fault.
instead of fear,
Yeah.
he can be a
Yeah.
light, hope
Mhm.
for people. One of the things that I thought was amazing about this, that they have delved into in other Batman movies, but not maybe not in this way, is the tech. I thought the Batman tech was freaking awesome. That contact that he had
Yes.
that would
Yep.
record everything and he could play it back and watch. See, that was very detective-y to me too. Like it felt very much like a video game where you would do something like that to find clues and figure something out. I loved the Batmobile. That's freaking like 70 Dodge Charger souped up with like a massive jet engine in the back. That thing was awesome. And like you were saying, it really feels like they put this together with their bare hands, right? The
Yeah.
two of them made all this crap that he's using. The bat suit when he flies and he's in that squirrel suit. That was so awesome and so real, and he's not very good at it because it's
Yeah.
new to him and he's
Yeah.
learning.
Yeah.
I just love that so much. And this movie, it was long, but it's enough time to kind of show you those things and play around with those kinds of that kind of Batman tech that he has, like the batarang that's magnetized to his suit.
Mhm.
There's so many cool little things that we've never really seen in other Batman movies. We've seen variations of it, but this time it just felt so like tangible, as you're watching it.
It was cool the way they had. It wasn't just a utility belt. He had thing pouches on his leg, and you see all this armor, and it reminded me a lot of the Batman suit from the Batman Arkham games.
Yeah, it does.
And but on a scale down a little bit. But I thought it was so cool because everything looked. It wasn't neat and tidy in a nice little compartment. It was hooked to him, strapped to him, and everywhere. And I just thought that was the coolest touch for the costume.
Can we talk about the character growth or the growth of Batman's relationships?
Yes, let's do that.
Because I felt that they did such a good job showing how he learned and grew his relationship, specifically with Gordon and the police, and how that naturally grew as he proved himself and as he started to accept them, and by the end, like, accepting help, and they were willing to like go to him to help him as opposed to like ignoring him, and which is a trope that I feel like a lot of Batman things kind of fall into is the police hate him because he's a vigilante. Dang it, Spider-Man! That sort of thing.
You're a good cop, Gordon, was a great way to kind of wrap that up. I love that.
Yeah.
But same with Alfred. They do something similar with Alfred. They have a little bit of strenuous conflict in that relationship, and Catwoman as well. There's, this is for lack of a better way of describing it, but it's kind of a coming of age. For the Batman and Bruce Wayne, and or maybe more so Bruce Wayne through the Batman. I don't know, but it feels like he's, even though he's been the Batman for what, 2 years, it felt like it was 2 years, right? I think they said that, but he really hasn't become fully the Batman that we know he will become, right, through other films and things. And it's I don't know, it's kind of, and I think the motorcycle is the first representation of him going into that more aggressive arc, right? The more techie arc, and because he fattened up the wheels and he got a bigger bike, and but But let's talk about. Well, we got two things we need to talk about. A couple, like technical scenes or scenes, cinematic scenes, or. But Christopher, before we do that, quickly, what kind of Easter eggs might we have in this film?
Probably a bunch.
Probably too many.
Probably more. And again, I just saw this afternoon, so I haven't really had a lot of time. I mean, there's a few things that one of the main things is there's probably a few, but there's one big Easter egg from the 1960s Batman TV show.
Yep, I think there's more. I say there's more.
There are probably more, but there's a part where I forgot his name. The butler,
Alfred.
Near him, at one point, there is a Shakespeare statue. So if you remember the Shakespeare statues where they'd pull the head and press the button, and that would let them go to the Batcave. So also when and I thought of this, Doc said, yeah, there's a few Easter eggs in there, but I will say that there's one part when the phone rings, I was thinking of the bat phone, just like everybody else, because it looks like the same type of bat phone. It's got a little red light on it, so I kept thinking bat phone when they did that.
Yeah, I did too. That was the first thing that went to my head. Yeah.
But evidently, also there's a really deep Easter egg with the Batman series is that there's a character called Pete Savage in this
Commissioner
movie.
Pete Savage, the first
Commissioner Pat Savage, who was actually a character in the Batman TV series. So,
nice.
And there's a really deep Easter egg because there was a cheesy on video movie called Legends of the Superheroes where we got the return of Adam West and we got the Batman and Robin and the Riddler, and they're fighting against the Riddler. With a lot of other characters too. I think even Solomon Grundy and a lot of other people show up. Really cheesy home video versions of it. Well, anyway, the creator, his name is Bill Carruthers, and that cafe that they catch the Riddler at, it's on Carruthers Street because he gets actually a shout out in the end credits. So somehow they were even inspired. This dark gritty thing was inspired by this cheesy home video knockoff thing.
Live action video knockoff, by the way.
Yeah. Now, if you pay attention, the car that crashes into the funeral, if you look at the license plate, it has S397WD 39. 1939 is the year the first Batman appearance in the comics in May of 1939. Let's see. Also, this seems to be a reference to Bane, but if you remember, he shoots this green liquid into his body to give him automatic strength. Mm-hmm. And if you remember Bane, he's always got that liquid that he shoots to give himself strength. So we get a slight Bane reference. So I don't know if that means that Bane will ever show up in this universe, but who knows? Let's see. Some people are thinking that the guy that says, talking about like they got what they deserved, and hey, do I know you from somewhere? Some people are thinking that character might be Joe Chill, which I think in the comics was the person who actually killed.
Yeah. I saw that. Yeah.
So some people are thinking that might be a possible Easter egg to that. Let's see. The one part where they're going in the street sign says Gotham Docks. I think that's from one of the video games, I think. I don't know if that's one of the things, but somebody said it's from one of the other things other than the movies. Blah, 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 blah. That's about all I got.
It's funny.
There's probably a million other things that people notice. Of course, we get a cameo at the very end.
Yeah, we got to talk about that.
A Joker. So
huge spoilers for you if you've made it this far. But
we're already in Spoilerville. So.
Joker's no, I know that. Yeah, but the Joker shows up at the end, and I'm interested to hear what you guys think about it. But I didn't realize who played it because I missed out on all the spoilery scoopage that came out before. But Barry Cogan from Eternals, Druid in Eternals, is playing this character. Because I thought it was just some generic, it's actor that was just filling in until they got somebody cast. But no, it was actually him. What, Slatman, starts off, what's your opinion of the Joker being in that last little scene?
Okay,
fair enough.
So Joker is such a weird character because while he's so iconic, he feels overdone.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, he's so iconic, it's hard not to like have a plan to involve Joker in a new Batman like trilogy or like storyline or whatever. But at the same time, it's hard not to compare the Joker to Heath Ledger, especially in Batman.
Right,
I'm not
right.
counting Joaquin Phoenix's Joker because that's like it's in Batman, but not in a Batman. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Mhm.
Anyway, it's I don't know.
Eh.
I thought it was I didn't think it was a bad inclusion because it was a nice little hint of what could come if but I actually think will come based on how successful this movie is.
Mhm.
And it didn't feel forced and it didn't feel pondery or overdone.
Yeah.
Chad, anything to add to that?
Well, at first, as I'm watching it, that's one of my first questions was how would the Joker, how would they incorporate the Joker?
Mm-hmm.
And at first, I thought, well, this could take place in the Joaquin Phoenix Joker universe,
Ooh.
actually. But then I saw that at the end, the thing there, and I thought that was pretty cool. I like that they kept it kind of mysterious of what he looked like, for now. Because we didn't really need to see it, but his laugh and everything, you could tell it was him. But also, it made me think back too, like at the beginning of the movie where Batman's fighting this clown gang or Joker gang. So
I know. I was thinking that too.
So it's making me feel like Batman may have already fought the Joker in this universe, and that's why he's in Arkham now. Or if he's not completely the Joker yet, I couldn't tell. But I don't know. It made my mind go back to the beginning with the clown gang.
Yeah.
But I was glad. Like Chris said, you can't really have Batman and not incorporate the Joker in there somehow. So.
It's like the Skywalkers.
Yeah.
I know you gotta have
Yeah.
You gotta have Waynes and Skywalker.
Or the Green Goblin.
Yeah. Right.
Vanessa, what do you think?
Well, speaking of Skywalker, Mark Hamill is my Joker forever and ever.
There you go.
And I do, Chad, think that he already caught the Joker. That's why he's in Arkham. But him and the Riddler are going to break out. They're going to have their little buddy villain movie. At least I hope. So I really liked the dialogue that they gave the Joker character between him and Riddler. Performance-wise, though, we really didn't get that much. And I really wasn't that impressed. And I really didn't like the laugh. That's the thing, right? That is the key.
Gotta have the laugh,
point to the Joker. It's that iconic Mark Hamill. I must say it, Mark Hamill laugh that he kind of cultivated for this character. And if you don't really nail that, then everything feels kind of off. And that kind of felt that way to me too. But like I said, we didn't really get to see anything, so it's really for the future me to decide, I guess.
The future you. Oh my God, that's so awesome.
Well, but the dialogue was good.
Well, they could probably recast it.
Nobody would know.
If it gets too much.
Right.
They could. And I didn't really my screen was also extraordinarily dark. I feel like I missed a lot of the movie because it was so freaking dark or poorly lit in the theater that I was in. So I really didn't even get to see, like you were talking about, his facial features and stuff. I really couldn't tell that much when I was watching it.
I like literally all I saw was tuft of hair.
Yeah, I saw some lights,
really?
a little
Wow.
like some eyes and hair.
You could actually see the face and the
silhouette
scars.
kind
Yeah,
of,
I could not
but
see the face or the scars or anything.
It
in
was
my
my theater was
So-
dark
Wow.
too.
So Vanessa and
dark.
I probably have the same opinion for the same exact reason.
Yes.
Are these AMCs?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
There you go.
That's where I went.
I saw it at a Regal, but of course it's the new theater with the party act.
Wow.
I think that for me the dialogue saved that scene. Because the whole friend thing made it worth it. Christopher, you got anything to add before we get into? We got to do the car chase and then move on to our exit. But
Well, scene to talk about too.
Well, but
there's other things. Yeah.
well, I will say that, like, with them announcing they're doing the Arkham Asylum spinoff thingy, I'm wondering if that might be the escape part of it or something. If they, but at the same time, I'm excited about that because what other villains are in Arkham Asylum, you know? Although I don't know about you guys, knowing that his mom was like crazy, that kind of explains why
It's interesting
the way he is.
Yeah, but we also got the owls in there too. I don't think that's in the comics, though, is it? That Martha.
One of the things I probably could have done as the Easter eggs is that this seems to pull from so many different comics. Like, what is it? The Long Halloween,
right?
Batman Year One. I mean, there's like the owl
Court of
subplot
Owls.
because then this does deal. They find out like there's whole group of people with all this power in the criminal underworld. So they do seem to pull from all these, because I think I forgot which one. There's one where Selena Kyle scratches Falcone's face. So I mean, they seem to pick and choose to make this, you know, as delicious as it is. Different ingredients from different.
They even had Selena. Even her whole look was based on Year One with the short haircut and the black corset thing.
Yeah, I saw like some people online on YouTube. They were showing pictures of the comic strips, and her outfit is just when she's wearing like the hair.
Yeah,
when she's walking, the outfit is purely from the comics.
Yeah, it was really, really well done there. So I will say, I just want to put it out there that I think that car chase is literally one of the best car chases in cinematic history. I would put it up there with likes of Bullet, and I really would. And French Connection, you know, those classic car chases. I think this car chase is so well done.
And it was practical. You know, that fire scene was totally practical. Yeah. Like, that is awesome to see. That was such what a great scene too.
But I think one of my favorite scenes is where the car is upside down.
Yeah.
And he's like a physical bat upside down, you know, he's like walking towards him.
You have to lean down into the camera.
Everybody in the theater, I saw that, it went crazy.
That music, just the music, which they showed a little bit in the trailer, but like, dun, dun.
Yeah.
Love the Batman theme.
The music in this is beautiful.
Oh man.
So what else? Slatman, you said you wanted to bring something up.
Batman now has a hallway scene.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my God, he has a hallway scene.
And that scene uses darkness and light.
I started to say
that worked.
Well.
That I could see that one.
I was worried. You were like, that was so dark in the hallway. I couldn't see anything happen.
No, not that.
Now that we're in Spoilerville, I can actually tell you like scenes that bothered me. Scenes when they were like in like the rooftop, like where the bat signal was, and you were clearly supposed to be able to see two figures and like beams and stuff. It all blurred together, and I couldn't really tell that. Like I could tell that there was like a character there, but I couldn't tell like anything else. Like it was too dark in like some of those scenes where you couldn't visually tell. Like the only reason I knew it was Gordon was because I could hear the voice like at certain points. Wow. It was Selena Kyle it didn't work with those scenes in my theater. But the hallway scene or any scene where it was intentionally supposed to be pitch black and Batman was supposed to appear out of nowhere, I didn't have issues with that. But the hallway scene uses darkness and light in such a beautifully artistic way for a fight scene. It is so freaking awesome.
And when the Riddler pops out of the dark too, that scared me.
That
whole build up, his whole character introduction in the beginning, that was really
where you could only see the reflection of the TV and the glasses at first.
Well, it seems like what horror movie is it where the guy's like painted like the wall? It's kind of similar to that. But I mean, I think the more I think about it, it is kind of amazing how we have these two characters and they're basically different sides of the same coin. I mean, even the Riddler's mask had that sort of that square nose that Batman had, and just how they both are hiding in the shadows and come into the light. They're both journaling. They both do a map on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's like so many correlations to each other to where you can sort of see how he feels like, oh, this is my brother, and we're working together. But I did like that's kind of story, how they tied those two characters together story wise, which we've seen in other, because was it Batman Returns, we get a sort of similar thing between Selena and Bruce Wayne, where they're like, we're the same, But I did like that aspect of it. That was kind of interesting and fun. I think Paul Dano, he's when he's in that prison and he's going crazy. I love that. I mean, to me, I think he almost makes the guy who plays the Joker look bad, because he's playing the
So
crazy
unhinged.
person
When they
better.
found him in the coffee shop and he turns around and he's just got
looking
this
like
little baby face with the little smile that
just
comes up.
ordered a
I went,
pie.
"Aw,
Well,
Yeah.
you can see that they use like real serial killers as like inspiration for
he
Yeah,
look-
for
his
his
look and
look.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, they said that they really leaned heavily into the Zodiac killer
Yeah.
for this
Yes.
version of the Riddler, and it shows,
Yeah.
and it
Which
pays
makes-
off.
With while he does the riddles, it does kind of pull away from what I expected Riddler to be, and that's where I feel like the Hush is part of his character. They kind of blended those two.
Yeah.
But having said that, I do like this Riddler. I do like what they did, and I love his, like the vocals, like you said in Arkham, he's really losing it, right? But then when he goes, Bruce Wayne, right? Yeah, just the way he says it, and he goes into the the Riddler voice instead of
so
Ed voice,
good.
right? So, and I love how the trailers messed with us about what they were trying to say there.
It was such a cool dichotomy
Great
that
scene.
the videos of the Riddler, and he looked, he's like this, and then very imposing and everything, and then they find this little timid little Paul Dano, and
he didn't really do the full on question until you see it in the coffee cup. I mean, you get similar, but not like straight up, right?
Well, it's part of his little insignia.
A little
question
emblem
mark
thing.
is part of his Zodiac type.
But that
insignia.
kind of standalone, more like rounded. Robust.
Yeah, it was more. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was
less cryptic.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't cryptic. Yes.
And then they got the Joker to say the riddle me this line.
That was
It's all right.
the only reason it worked is because it was like a friend.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, damn you, Joker, you made it work. All right, so let's go ahead and do this. Let's give our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. Let's do it. And we're going to go in the same order. So, Chad Hunt, sir, you are going first.
I highly recommend this. I mean, this is worth the wait, and it's worth the 3 hours. I'm going to see it at least 2 more times in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, this is the good thing about Batman is he's one of those characters you can fit him into any universe. And he fits in. So horror, he's been done in horror, science fiction, Justice League, cosmic storylines and stuff like that. And they just drop Batman in there, and he's Batman. He's still Batman, but you believe him in all these different iterations of him. So this is a very refreshing and a very exciting new direction, I think, for Batman. The story arc that he has is amazing, which I'll get into in my favorite scene. But yeah, this is definitely a 5. If I could go higher than that, I would. Yeah, but it's just my favorite. Like Chris said earlier, it's my favorite Batman. Right now. It's not maybe not the best Batman. I don't know. That's up to people, their own opinions, but this is just the most awesome thing I've ever seen. I've come out of this movie just feeling good, like I haven't felt in a long time.
Wow.
Since Spider-Man: No Way Home.
Yeah, so since December.
Yeah. My favorite, that's true. My favorite scene didn't happen in any like one. It happened in two separate parts of the movie. When he was in the fight and he saved the man on the subway, and Batman goes to take his hand and he goes, "Please don't hurt me." People. Not only was he scaring criminals, he was scaring common citizens. At the same time. And then at the end, when he's putting the lady on the stretcher and she didn't want to let go of him, he was no longer that symbol of fear. He was this symbol of hope for people, and that moved me. It really did move me that he held on to her even as they were lifting her up. They were still holding on to each other's hand. That was just a great moment and a great bookend to his story arc, I thought. And if I may be indulged for one laugh out loud moment, I know we did it for Peacemaker, but did you guys notice when they captured the Penguin? They ankle cuffed him and they handcuffed him, and at the end he's waddling away like a penguin. You sons of bitches.
I meant to say that they let him do the penguin walk.
I laughed when I saw that. That was hilarious.
Oh my god, I loved it too. Yes, Vanessa, your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene.
And Colin Farrell's voice was freaking awesome. It was so good, perfect for that character. And then him just screaming, "Hey, hey!"
So Robert De Niro, man.
Yeah,
it's so
When
good.
did Robert De Niro do this?
I really loved this movie. I really, really did. And I haven't really felt that way about a Batman movie in a long time. Probably The Dark Knight is maybe the last time I felt this way, this kind of moved about a Batman movie. And this is like in a totally different way. I would absolutely recommend you go see it. I'm sure you have already because everyone has. This is gonna have a great turnout, I think, for this past weekend. But yeah, I everything that I've already said throughout the review has been like positive. And I don't even think the darkness is the fault of the movie. I think it's the theater, honestly. I can't wait till I can watch it at home. It's one of those things where I'm so on board for the at home and in theater release because I will go to the theater and watch it, but then I will also watch it at home. So I am a fan of that kind of dual release. But anyways, this absolutely gets a 5 from me. I don't see very many notable faults that I could deduct points from. And Robert Pattinson as Robat Battenbat. As I've been calling him leading up to this, just really, really, really killed it in this Batman role. I mean, I really didn't know what to expect. Like I said, after seeing The Lighthouse, I was sold on his ability as an actor, but I didn't know what to expect, and I just loved the Batman and the Bruce Wayne that he gave us. So I have a favorite shot, and it's that shot of the diner right where they're about to go in and get the Riddler. It's off of that Carruthers Street, and it looks like that painting, that diner painting. You just see the neon light around it, and you see him sitting at the bar there. That's just a beautiful, beautiful shot. But my favorite scene, and there's so many in here, and for different emotional reasons, there's great scenes, and visually there's great scenes. But my favorite scene is after he is the guy that gets his head kind of blown up. He's back at the station, and he wakes up, and there's all these cops around him just looking over at him, and
trying to take his cap off. Yeah.
Yes, and he explodes out of these cops. And Gordon's trying to calm everybody down. Everybody's trying to calm down, and he punches one, and they're like, "We got you on assaulting a cop," and he's like, "How about 3?" It's like, yes, I love it so much. That whole scene up to the culmination where he knocks Gordon the fuck out, and even Gordon is like, "Couldn't you pull your punch?" And he's like, "I did." So rude. Oh my god, but I loved that. I loved seeing him because so much of this movie is about his relationship with the police, right? and how they're going to see each other, how they're going to work together or not work together. And that was such a tense moment to see him just like explode out of these cops like that. Was just a great, perfectly like calculated shot. So many beautiful, gorgeous shots in this movie.
Definitely. Slatman, sir. Your final thoughts, your score, your favorite scene?
Yeah, this is a very good Batman movie. This is an incredible Batman movie. I I think it's the best Batman movie we've gotten in a very, 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 very long time. Although that is not news to anyone because we're all saying that. This is definitely probably the biggest surprise, I think, for me in a while, because there were so many doubts coming into this, you know. Oh, can Twilight Boy play Batman? Oh, is this, are they, they're gonna try and be dark and edgy again? Is DC's going back to their old ways? You know, all of these criticisms, all the casting is, you know, not that great. You know, that first trailer was like, there were people that loved it and people that hated it, you know, online. And I am so happy that this movie has come out and silenced all the doubters and put forth something that is at worst a 4 out of 5 to at worst, you know.
Yeah.
And it's not a perfect movie, but that's fine. It's a very good movie. It's an incredible Batman movie. It's an incredible Batman story. And it really does a great job of giving us Batman the character rather than Batman the persona. And it really shows the struggle that Bruce has of, you know, when is he not Batman? And then I love this interpretation of Riddler. It works so well for this movie. It works so well for this universe, and it doesn't feel, one of the hard things to do with Riddler is to make him intimidating without feeling silly.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you can say that about a lot of villains in a lot of superhero movies. So, but they did a really good job with it. He was intimidating. He felt like a threat while also having the essence of what makes the Riddler, you know, puzzles, you know, come catch me if you can, figure it out, you know. So yeah, I'm going to be a little controversial. I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5.
How dare you?
Yeah,
Kidding.
Still incredibly good. And, you know, the biggest shocker out of all this is that DC's put out 2 quality movies in a row.
Yeah.
For the first time in, what, like a decade, I think, that they've actually put 2 in a row out that are great. So... my favorite scene is the scene with Batman and Riddler at Arkham.
Yes.
Just the escalation, how Riddler is able to get under Batman's skin, and the acting Paul Dano has is phenomenal in that scene. And that is the scene I'm going to remember this movie for.
Yeah, and Robert Pattinson for that scene, because he thinks for a good portion of it that the Riddler knows he's Bruce Wayne. And then his whole body language changed once he realizes that he doesn't know. I really love that scene as well. Very good. All right, Christopher G. Moore, let us have it, sir. Your final thoughts, your score, and your favorite scene.
Yeah, I mean, I think is Matt Reeves, is that the director's name?
It is.
Okay. I think he's done for the Batman franchise what he sort of did with the Planet of the Apes franchise. I think he's taken this story that we know and love and has all these iconic things that are associated with it, and he's told his own version of that story and did it brilliantly. And I think probably one of the biggest, I don't think it's a problem, but one of the big things that we always know from watching any of these properties involve Batman, the villains usually outshine Batman.
Mhm.
And this is one of the few instances where Batman outshines the villains, and I like that. He's the most fun, interesting character. And I think, I think the approach is great. I know that some people have complained about the Bruce Wayne aspect of it, but I don't think that was meant for this specific story arc. I think right now we're just, luckily it's not like the beginning stages of him, but it's just in the early stages of him becoming, and he's still on vengeance mode. And then he realizes, I'm no different than the villains. I need to change it up. And then we get that moment where he transfers. I mean, there's that beautiful shot overhead where he's got the flare and he's leading those people out.
Oh my God, the cinematography in this is fantastic.
There's so many gorgeous moments like that. And then you have that arc where he goes from this person who's always in the shadows, known as this Dark Knight, and he's finally become this sort of, light of hope for people. Because I think you were talking about the earlier chat about like how the first person was scared for him to help him, and the other person at the end. Well, there's also that moment where he puts his hand out, and even the mayor, the mayor, the little kid does.
Mhm.
That
That little kid's like, I'm no dummy. I'm getting the F out of here.
Come get me, Batman. But there's. So it's and it does have the cool stories, and it even has humor. Probably things I shouldn't laughed at, like Thumb Drive, but
that was funny though. No, that was funny.
But and actually my favorite, if we were like we talk about our laugh out loud moment, my favorite line of dialogue is when they get the Penguin. And they show up, and he's like, "What is this, bad cop, batshit cop?" I was laughing about that when I was leaving the theater, because I don't know. He's like, you can see that Colin Farrell is just having a fucking blast, or having a blast doing this character. But
more.
But I just love. I mean, I feel like there's more chemistry between Gordon and Batman than we've seen the other films, in my opinion. I feel like there's more chemistry, and and definitely there's chemistry between him and Selina Kyle. I haven't seen that probably since Batman Returns, which I felt like there was a big chemistry between Keaton and what's her name played
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Michelle Pfeiffer, I mean, that was always caught there, but I mean this. So this film gets a total 5 out of 5. I can't wait to get. I never thought a 3-hour film. I want to go see it again. Because I just want to go back and just, now that I know what happens, just you enjoy the visual. There's just the cinematography and how they go about it it's very specific. There's a lot of deep focus type things where things are out of focus and it's just focused on one specific area. There's a lot of the stuff where you're shooting through like windows and panes of glass, and there's just so many things they do with the camera to sometimes put you in the midst of the action, and almost like you're riding along, like you're hanging around with Batman when he's flying through the city. You're just going along with them. And I was like, I was like smiling during these scenes because it was kind of cool, because you feel like you're in the midst of it, not to the level of 40X where you're going to throw up by the end of it, but you're in the mix of it. So as for favorite scene, I'm going to go probably with the non-flashy scene, because I could probably pick 5 million parts out of this, but I'm going to go with the one moment where Batman and Selina Kyle, he's like, they're wanting to team up, and he's like, well, don't do anything without my knowledge. And then she goes in and kisses him. And he's
hot
like,
kiss.
Damn, I talk about 40X. I felt like sparks should have been coming out of the screen at that moment, because I was like, man, somebody get me a fan, because I'm getting sweaty watching this. Because you can just feel it. It's so romantic, because you have that silhouette of them two with the dusk in the background. I know it's like a freaking painting. I don't know. I'm really blown away about how much I love this. I thought I was going to have to be nitpicky. I'm like, oh gosh, but I just loved every moment of it.
Every moment. Yeah, okay, so as you know, I had the 4DX experience, which has, I need to see this again without that to get it to a 5. I will say that. I'm not going to give it a 5. And I feel like I'm nitpicking. The only thing is I wanted a little bit more character development with Alfred and Commissioner Gordon. No, he's not commissioner yet, but James Gordon. Lieutenant, yeah. But but I'm not disappointed with their characters and the actors that are playing them. I really like them. I just felt like I didn't get enough. There's something lacking, and it's not going to deter that's not going to deter my score terribly much, because the cinematography is fantastic, the acting is fantastic across the board. The Riddler is scary. This is pretty. There are times this is a horror film. This is there's some good. There are horror elements in here that are frightening, and I'm just amazed by the tone. I'm amazed by. Okay, so there's worries that the film's too long, and there's reasons why it's long, because they actually have these long, drawn out, but not in a negative context, just in a time span context, shots of like the Batman just walking through the crime scene and looking at everything, and there's a purpose for him looking at it, because he's actually physically recording everything, we learned later, right? But you just feel that he's seeing everything the 20 cops in the room aren't seeing. He's seeing it all, right? He's seeing it all, and we're with him and seeing it too, and it brings back this noir and the detective element, and it's probably the best Batman realization, especially of this particular time in the Batman's career, because there is a time when he becomes more of the Justice League Batman, right? I mean, there is, and then there's the after that, for some stuff that we're going to see later in the year, but so there is room for all these other interpretations, because he does have a long storied career, and he's taken on a lot of different types of crime. He started very roots, very detective, very down to dirt, like this film, and then you could see this character being the Ben Affleck going up against Superman later in his career. You can see that. Although, anyway, I said it. I'm going to leave it alone. So I'm going to go 4.85. 4.85.
Weird route.
4.85. So 4.75 is too low. But I have a feeling that when I see this again for the second time without 40X, don't do that. That I will probably go to a 5, because I think I really think this needs to be considered on multiple levels for award season next year. There's direction, cinematography, maybe script, maybe the film itself. It's hard. I would like to see the actors get things, but I think that it's going to be Colin Farrell or Paul Dano that get looked at for supporting, because it's really hard to give Batman an award, although I'd love to see it. But I really think that this is an achievement. This is an achievement in filmmaking. Regardless of it being a superhero film, when we're covering it here on Heroes and Droids, as cinema, as a film, it is an achievement, and it should be considered as such. Outside of our nerdy circles, right?
It's a crime film with Batman in it.
Regardless of what Martin Scorsese says, this is a film that's just as important and interesting as any other story. And
I'd like to see Martin Scorsese eat his words after watching this movie.
Wow.
I would. Okay, so my favorite scene, I'm going to take
grumpy.
it. Yeah, he is grumpy, but he's good. But my favorite scene, it starts with the roar of the Batman engine coming out of the alleyway, and the Penguin or Oswald, heading for his car to get away. Yes, what is that? What is that? It's just a whole build up to it, and I mean, it roars like a beast, right, coming out of this thing, and and he takes off, and they chase, and it's so kinetic and so, like you were saying, you're in the car with the Penguin, like you're looking like into the windshield at him, and there's like a soft focus because the windshield's wet, and then you can see the Batmobile behind him chasing him, right, or cars being knocked about, or or trucks sliding sideways, or eventually the Batmobile coming through the tanker and in the hole. I got you, right? And then finally ending with the car upside down, and we're seeing it from the Penguin's point of view, and the Batman's walking toward him, and then leans down.
Yeah,
that lean, man.
Oh my God, that's Spider-Man kissing Mary Jane for upside down work. I love it.
Okay.
And I think this film should win an effects award just for Colin Farrell's makeup alone.
Seriously.
Yeah. And there are others.
This is better than. I think Dick Tracy would be a better movie if they had this level of effects makeup.
Wow, that's how many years ago?
Saying a lot for that movie.
Although if you think about it, Dark Knight, Heath Ledger's. I mean, I think the main reason that works is because of Heath Ledger's performance, but I think this does a better job of the overall aspect of the film as opposed to that. And that's just my opinion. Maybe it's sacrilegious to some people. And I think Heath Ledger does a great performance, but I feel like overall this everything kind of works.
And I would take that even further to saying that Paul Dano gives a performance worthy of sitting alongside Heath Ledger. In the same respect as what he did, because I mean, it's a lesser known character and it doesn't have quite the same impact for various reasons, but in the context of the story and what he delivered, it's astonishing how frightening a human being can be.
Well, I think he's better than their version of Bane or the Scarecrow or any of those. I think, and so I think he's definitely up there to Heath Ledger because he's doing a similar thing. He's doing his sort of his take on the Riddler. Evidently, it was his idea to put like saran wrap on his head because he didn't want to leave any DNA at the crime scene. That was his idea to do that. So
you feel like you're watching something brand new, even though we know Batman, we know the villains, and you feel like you're watching something different and new and fresh.
At a time when we go into it thinking we've seen it all. Like we've seen so many Batman. How can they possibly give us anything new without doing something along the lines of what they did with Suicide Squad?
Well, they do it.
Yeah, totally opposite side of the coin.
Right. And
we're so used to Bruce Wayne being this suave asshole type character, and we get the sort of emo Bruce Wayne, and I like that. He's just he doesn't like going out or talking to people.
He doesn't really know what
he's not
he
there
knows. He knows what he's doing isn't working, but I feel like he was at this place where, what am I doing? What's next? What am I supposed to do next? What's what's going to happen? And that's what the story to me was about. By the end, he found his purpose and knew what direction he needed to go in now and stuff like that. That's what made it so satisfying.
I want to hear news of. I'm sure we will soon of a Batman 2, the Batman 2.
So I already read that they had greenlit 2 more.
Well, of course, Warner Brothers is going to greenlight it, but they're like.
Well, I know Patton's excited to do a sequel.
Is he? Well, I'm sure everybody wasn't. That their contracts at least include, some. That's Hollywood now. But where do you take it from here? It'd be incredibly interesting to see what other kind of kick.
Obviously, the Joker.
Well, you don't have to. You can build up to him, but we
do have the spinoff stuff there as well. With spinoff with Colin Farrell's character in the Arkham Asylum, so it'll be interesting to see how that ties into everything.
Yeah, the Gordon show, the detective or police station, or whatever they were going to, Gordon Police, they've shifted. They said today or this week that they're shifting it more toward being Arkham Asylum, so that'll be interesting. And it'll be interesting to see what they do with and horror, and see what they do with the Penguin.
Yeah,
because it is underworld. It is definitely the crime element. It's not, but I mean, there's I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what they do.
Yeah. But for now, we have the Batman.
Now we got the Batman. And how many times? And it shines a good light on DC. We got 3 more DC movies coming this year. We got I think it's Black Adam is first, then the Flash, and then ending the year with Aquaman and the
Lost Kingdom.
Lost Kingdom, right? Yeah.
That one's probably going to be the worst.
I don't know about that, but
several fish have put forth sexual harassment charges, and there's
several fish.
That's what I hear. That's what I read on the internet.
Yeah, Tina Tuna has. God.
They thought they lobster, but then they flounder. Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, direct all emails to Christopher G. Moore at personmagazine.com. All right, guys, let's. We've been. If we do this anymore, we'll go 3 hours as well. So let's go ahead and wrap this up. Vanessa, Christopher, Slatman, Chad Hunter, thank you all for joining me.
Thank you.
It's always fun.
Vanessa's ready. It's like, get off here. I want to go to sleep. I got it. All right, let's say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.